Yo, what is up, guys? And due to the popular demand, we also have the 3-star specialty change PvE tier list as well, featuring one Forza unit, that being in Mercedes, because technically she is kind of a specialty change unit, except that she doesn't really appear on the menu. You actually just have to beat episode 3 and do some quests, and you'll get her. Now, same thing as the PvP tier list and pretty much all my other tier lists, we're going to be separating these units into 4 tiers. These are all the specialty change units in the game, plus Mercedes, like I said. Basically, the S tier units are going to be very, very good. You can use them in a lot of areas of content. For that reason, you definitely are going to want to build them, especially for PvE, because of the fact that they are so universal. And you can pretty much bring them into so many areas of content that with just one set of gear, you'll be able to actually fill in a slot in a lot of teams for PvE. A tier, these units are still very good, but they're a little bit more harder to use. They won't be as universal as the S tier units, but they're still very, very good. And in PvE, they'll be very strong and help you progress your account very, very quickly. Now for the B tier units and even the C tier units, I personally do not recommend building these units for PvE. If there is an area of content that they're good in, there will only be like 1 or maybe even 2. And if that is the case, I'll mention it while I'm going over these units. But for the B and C tier units, I'd like to say that they are both quite a ways down from the S and A tier units, but B tier being the units are just a little bit better overall than the C tier units themselves. So starting off with the S tier units, these units are very powerful. Please build them for PvE, they're so good. First one should be a no-brainer, guys. It is Angelic Montmorency, probably the first specialty unit you get in the game. This unit is so good because she can basically go everywhere you need cleansing, and you will pretty much always need cleansing in every late game area of content. You can pretty much use her in every single hunt because of her cleansing except like Golem. You can also use her in all of Raid. You can use her pretty much everywhere, like I said, because there's so many debuffs. You can even use her in Wyvern as your Wyvern tank. She's a very good, viable first 6-star unit option in the game right now if you need your Wyvern tank to be her. And for that reason, she is the top of the top for the specialty change units. Even though the other 4 are still very good, I think she just edges them out by a considerable amount. Next, we have the main character, Adventurer Ross. This is one of the best knights in the game because of the fact that he has so much sustain for his team with that defense buff, which is very powerful. There's a lot of areas in the game where the boss just does a lot of AoE damage and can actually snipe your units, such as like Azimnak and Katie's. I think it is and even like Raid, it is going to be a big like wall for newer players because their damage dealing units won't have that much HP. But having a defense buff from Adventurer Ross will make that a lot easier. Also, you have that strip in his S1, that's Dispel, which is very useful in a lot of areas of content. Some bosses need to be dispelled constantly or you will wipe. He's also very good because he has a defense break in his S2. Not always reliable like Falcon and Clarice, but it's still very good at a high % chance. And if you're manualing hard content, you can actually soul burn it and just keep defense breaking. And keep in mind, you'll also bring a damage dealing unit with you to actually do a lot of damage with that Daydream Joker on that DPS unit. Next up, we have Commander Lorena, one of the best single target damage dealing units in the game. This unit is so good. If you need a good single target damage dealer, like she is the go-to option. And she even scales into the late game because you can use her in one-shot hunt comps, especially for like Katie's. And she's just very good. You'll use her pretty much all the time. In Ancient Inheritance, she's very good as well. So you can pretty much always use her no matter what. One of the best single target damage dealers, not just for 3-star units, but in the game for PvE. Next, we have Aiden. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the light form of Aiden because that form is not that great, but all the other forms are good in their respective expeditions, and you can even use some of them in hunts as well. For that reason, she's in this tier, but hard to justify using her because she's so good in PvP as well. So honestly, maybe she should be in the A tier, but just as a standalone unit, she is a very good option. Next, we have Mercedes. I think this unit is very underrated for PvE. Most people know her as a Guild Wars defense monster, which is also very good in PvE because she has all AoE damage that hits very hard. She has a revive in case she dies, and also she has no debuffs, and also she has a CR push for yourself. Now, no debuffs is very good because some bosses have a debuff cap, and if you trigger that cap, they enrage. So Mercedes is one of the best AoE damage dealers in the game, similar to why Commando Lorena is very good as well. Like honestly, you need good single target damage. Commando Lorena is the best free-to-play option. You need good AoE damage, and you don't want a lot of debuffs. Mercedes is a very good option as well. Now we have the A tier units, guys. These units are still good, like I said, but not nearly as good as the S tier units. Like the S tier units, you can take these units pretty much into like more than like 10 areas of content, honestly. A tier units, you're not going to really reach that amount, but they're still very good in certain areas of content. So Falconer Clary, guys, one of the best defense breakers in the game for a 3-star. She has that full strip on her S3. She also has healing for her team with her S2 on every turn she takes, and she also CR pushes people very, very strong. The reason why I like Adventure Ross a little bit more, though, is because his strip on his S1 is a lot more consistent. You can even turn his skills off if you really need a dedicated dispeller and just have him constantly S1 every turn to dispel. Falconer Clary is going to be better in like manual play, so she'll be better in like Abyss and stuff like that, and she's going to be better in like Dark Expedition and Ice Expedition, but everywhere else I think Adventure Ross just edges her out or is kind of like tied with her. Next we have Mercenary Helga, guys. I think this unit is very underrated. Most people think she's only good in Ice Expo, but I think if you need a good defense breaker, guys, and you don't want to bring another Night slot like Falconer Clary, but you still want that defense breaker to do damage, for a 3-star unit, Mercenary Helga will be your best bet because she also can actually give your team effectiveness, which might sound really useless, but it'll make it so that you can actually drop effectiveness on other units like Adventure Ross and stuff like that and focus more on damage stats or even tank stats, right? So I think she's pretty underrated. Her damage is pretty decent, and she's actually pretty good for Ancient Inheritance as well. Also good in Hall of Trials. Alexa, guys, you're only going to really ever use her in Wyvern, but she's so good there. She actually does the most damage to Wyvern until your Sigurd is max geared. And because of that, you know, she's a very good staple option for your team, especially if you want a fast team. If you guys don't have enough gear for like one-shot Wyvern, the fastest team is actually going to use Alexa because her S1 hits twice and procs Daydream Joker twice. And because of that, she's the highest single target damage to Wyvern. Very good option for that reason. If you think about it, guys, you're going to be farming Wyvern for a majority of the game, especially in the early and mid game. And because of that, like just lowering the amount of time you spend on Wyvern makes Alexa like super will actually make it so that, you know, you can progress your game a little bit more quicker, especially on like hunt event days where you're spamming hunts over and over using all your leaps and skystones. For that reason, Alexa is a very good choice. Next, we have Captain Ricarus. I think Captain Ricarus is also pretty good as well with his debuffs. Mostly going to be used in Katie's, but Katie's is one of the harder hunts to get into, and Asmonak as well, and he's very good in both of those. So I think he's pretty underrated. If you're looking for a good option for those hunts as a damage dealer and as utility unit, he's pretty decent as well. Next we have Mascot Hazel, guys. You guys might be wondering why she's here when there's another 5-star Fire Soul Weaver that's super good named Tamarin. Actually though, guys, Mascot Hazel is better than Tamarin if you are running a full fire team. So technically the best like Golem and the Earth Expo teams will have Hazel, and because of that, you know, she's in this list in the A tier, and if you somehow have another full fire team, she's probably going to be better than Tamarin as well, unless you really need Tamarin's dispelling. So next up, we have the B and C tier units, guys. These units, like I said, you don't really want to use for the most part. I'm just going to go very quickly through these units because, you know, honestly, these units aren't really worth using that much. But, you know, Arowell, always going to be good because she has so much damage mitigation. That's pretty much the only reason you're going to want to bring her. Her stuns are pretty useless. Pillis, actually her dispels are pretty good too. Pillis, her cleansing's nice, and she also has a lot of mitigation, but, you know, you don't really need that because Aros just does it better because he has a defense break and a dual attack. And yeah, Zealot Carmen Rose is going to be very good in Light Expo. That's pretty much it, but she is one of the best units there, so that's why she's in the B tier. I forgot his name, but this guy, not Chaos Sect Axe, the Butcher Core Inquisitor, I think, right? He's going to be very good in Earth Expedition as a tank, so he's also here. Essie Doris, very good if you need like more healing, but honestly, like you don't really need her because Angelic Mountain is in the game, and there's just a lot better Soul Weavers for like 4-star and 5-star. Like even Angelica here, who's a 4-star unit, is just way better than Essie Doris for PvE content. Carrot, guys, not that good because burns aren't really good in PvE because attack stacking is a lot worse than crit damage stacking. But, you know, technically she does pretty decent damage and she's tanky, so she's here. Your runs will just take a lot longer in other areas of content. C-tier units, guys, these are all pretty useless. You're not going to really use them anywhere. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 areas of content in like Abyss floors where you can use them. But for the most part, these units need help for PvE, or they're mostly going to be for PvP. So for that reason, you know, I don't really think these units are worth using. That being said, that is pretty much it for this tier list, guys. Keep in mind, this is just my own opinion. You are allowed to disagree. And if you guys do disagree, just please let me know in the comments down below because I update this like every 3 or 4 months. And I try to make it so that it fits the meta and always up to date so that you guys have a better understanding on how the units are, especially if you're newer, because honestly, there's so many units in this game, guys. Like if I scroll down, you see so many. It's so hard to keep track of like which one's good. And even for me, like sometimes I forget the names of some of them. So yeah, keep in mind, you know,